Speaking of YouTube clips, it's pretty funny. So based on what's happened. So we posted a YouTube clip a couple days ago before the England show, Wembley show, right? Here's the title of the YouTube clip: Konnan on should Tony Khan turn his back on CM Punk? Okay, and it was a mixed bag of responses. All right, because this is before
Bro,
the incident with him and
there's more.
there's more. What do you mean?
Well, just continue and tell say what you're going to say. But there's another incident from that day that I just read about.
Oh, with Miro?
Okay, yeah, okay.
All right, so what did you hear?
That, so tell me.
Let's talk about this. Okay, let's talk about the
first. What's the comments that you're going to say?
Yeah, good.
That was I was going to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weren't you going to talk about this?
No, just saying it was a mixed bag, and it's just funny that we literally posted this clip 2 days ago, and now we have we're going to be able to post it up. We're going to talk about something we just literally 2 days ago.
So tell us about the Miro thing.
Well, from what I understand, after.
From what you understand, meaning what? Somebody told you backstage? No, I read it somewhere?
No, I read it.
These are read reports from the dirt sheets, and all the other dirt sheets are reporting because one dirt sheet is reporting it, and they're acting like that report is true.
Okay.
Yeah, but these are none of these are verified reports.
Are they credible? Are they credible?
I don't know. We can. I would.
Joe.
Let me ask you a question. Joe, do this.
Where'd you get it from?
Are you friendly enough with Jericho to text him and get the story and find out what's going on? Because I never text him for information and everything.
I don't think he would. I don't think he would, only because.
Well, just say, is this true or not?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, right. Just say, because I just want to know.
Konnan want to know if this is true or not.
Yeah, we know guys in that locker room, and I don't want to be repeating the dirt sheet versions of guys that are talking together. I don't know who these guys are talking to. I know people that work there. I would rather get even if they get a non-answer. I just want, is this true or not? Like a verified of like a story that the dirt sheet is reporting, and he can just say yes or no. I don't care if it says yes, it is, or no, it's not. I don't care. I don't want the story for even if it's no. I just want to know, is this true or not? Okay, so to text.
You know what's kind of funny that's been happening in the last year?
What?
Obviously, they shall remain nameless. I know a lot of people in every company, just like you do, Disco, young and our contemporaries, and people just send me information because they want me to say it on the air, like what's happening backstage. A lot of stuff I haven't.
They want the version of the story out there, the true version of the story, right? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, okay, go ahead.
So, I think people listened, but if they didn't, and we're going to answer an email about it later. But
I want to make another comment.
Hang on, I just want to tell the beginning of it before I get to the Miro part. Initially, there was an confrontation again between CM Punk and Jungle Boy Jack Perry at Wembley prior to Punk's match because Perry made a snarky comment on camera. Punk got in his face. They apparently wrestled around, and Punk put him in a headlock or something.
That did happen. Okay, that did happen. I have eyewitnesses that told me that.
Okay, so following that. And this, you asked who it was, Konnan. So I read from.
Well, he was the guy, but so people know, obviously 2 weeks ago he wanted to go through some glass, and Punk said no. Punk was right. The guy
shouldn't be doing that. That Stu doesn't say
right.
Or whatever.
He was right. Right. And so he's trying to show he's a tough guy, and go through real glass. And so he looks into the camera. He's like, "Yeah, cry me a river," or something.
Yeah, right.
Basically.
Let me make a point.
Right.
Okay. Because this is funny, because I posted this poll on Twitter today just so I could get the result. I just posted a poll for an hour on Twitter. All right. And I want to just make a point. Okay.
What was the poll?
I'm gonna give it to you right now. Okay. All right. Here was the poll. The question was, what has CM Punk been better at in his career? And bro, wow, I'm really shocked at the answers to this. Locker room leader or UFC fighter? That's a tough one. Okay.
Right.
So it is a tough question. All right.
Right.
Bro, what would you say that the percentage, in your opinion, what do you think the percentage of the answers would have been? The poll's over. I got the final results in. Okay. There was 245 votes. What percentage do you think would say UFC fighter? What percentage do you think would say locker room leader?
UFC fighter 70.
Okay, what about you?
80 maybe.
Locker room leader 65.
Really? So you guys complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of interesting because it was almost right down the middle. 51% for UFC fighter and 51.4% UFC fighter, 48.6% locker room leader. Just a mixed bag. He's a it just shows you what a polarizing guy this is. That bro, he's created more news since he came back. It's like we get a lot of YouTube views off discussions of him.
Right.
You know, so it's like he's an incredibly polarizing figure because he has a very passionate base of fans that just like him, period. And he just he rubs a lot of people the wrong way with the way he acts. And it's just and you can see in that locker room. He just I don't know if I don't know what he acts like now. But if he tries to act tough because he was in the UFC, I guarantee that has to rub people really, really wrong.
I was thinking
because he was the worst UFC fighter in the history of the UFC. That's not even arguable. He was terrible.
Yeah, but even a bad UFC fighter is going to be better than any wrestler that doesn't have any UFC experience unless he's a real. But wait 1 second. Okay. I think he doesn't go around going, "Oh, I'm a UFC fighter," because he didn't. I think his swag is more like, "Hey, they're letting me do whatever I want." You know, and I think that maybe Jack Perry is like, this guy ain't my boss. Why do I have to listen to him? Right. And Punk is probably thinking, hey, I'm a veteran here and I'm looking out for you. You know what I'm saying? And
and two, the dynamic that Vince talked about on the show might exist, where basically Punk has these guys by the because he could sue them, and when maybe given a list of guys he wants on his show with him, and the guys that are not on that list. And then, he did not want a collision. It's like when they're all backstage, and it's like this guy didn't even like my relationship with this guy must suck because this guy doesn't even want me on the shows on Saturday nights with the guy. And now he's here at the shows with a locker room of guys that he literally gave a list to Tony Khan, says, I don't want these people wrestling on Saturday nights. Mm-hmm. And just imagine that type of what that type of atmosphere like the little snide, like if he's brought up and
imagine when you and me were in WCW, right?
Right.
And let's say they would have given anybody, let's just say DDP, just to say a name. Okay, DDP thunders your show, right? And he was like, I don't want Disco on it, I don't want Konnan on it, I don't want this. We'd be like, who the is this guy? He'd have a lot of heat.
He'd have a lot of heat. He'd have the Johnny Ace heat. You know, like the guy walking around like I'm in shot. You know, I could pull some strings here. You know, so like bro, remember you were there that day when Nash called him out in front of everybody, in front of bro. There was like 15, 20 guys there. Right. It's what he basically said when Johnny Ace was trying to say I had nothing to do with the fines of guys. And he's like, Kevin's like, I know for a fact that was you know, and he's go, boy, and like bullet, bro. I thought they were gonna fight, maybe even. You know what I'm saying? Kevin was close. If Kevin would have gotten up from his sitting position, he would have gone and gotten in his face, and Johnny Ace would have begged off. But I was surprised that Johnny Ace was being as indignant towards him as he was when he knew he was lying. That's the one thing about Johnny Ace.
I think he didn't know Nash knew. That's why.
Right. They probably didn't know for sure, but Nash had obviously tons of connections because he'd been
probably Eric told him.
Exactly. You know, but it was funny because remember that because I was watching, I'm like, boy, Johnny Ace has a lot of here acting like that in front of Kevin because Kevin's got, there's some guys that probably don't like Kevin, but Kevin.
The only thing that happened after that meeting is he had more heat with the boys,
right?
Because he came off disingenuous. Like they knew that Nash knew. Like he was sure. And I could see Nash going up to Eric and going, dude, what with this? This.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with Kevin.
Yeah, with the time clock and the fees. And he's probably, hey, that wasn't my idea. That was Johnny Ace.
Right. But the thing with Kevin is even though Kevin had kind of like, a lot of the mid-card guys thought that like they were up from, bro, whenever it was like locker room versus office, Kevin was on the side of the boys. And he was kind of like an old
versus office. He was.
He's an old Detroit guy, probably union worker type of mentality. But like the locker room is, he was because remember, let's not forget, when Hogan, Piper, all those guys had their own locker rooms, Kevin and Scott would still dress in the locker room with us, with the rest of the boys. They never like big league their status and like had their own room and you can't come in the room, and stuff. They were like with the boys in the locker room, So and they had heat from some guys. But it's like, they were big guys. So it's funny when you're a 300-pound guy and you got heat with the 180-pound guys. You're not really going to care about it that much. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, it's not, well, it wasn't so much because they were big. It was because they had power, bro.
Right.
They
did.
Yeah. And I think the biggest mistake Eric made, and we've all made mistakes in our life, so I'm not hating, I'm just stating. The biggest mistake to me that Eric ever made was hitching his wagon to Hogan and not Hall and Nash.
Right.
Because Hall and Nash were the one that turned the business around.
Because Hall and Nash were like the bullet train, and Hogan was still like the old school locomotive, choo choo.
They were literally rock stars everywhere we went.
Everywhere we went, yeah. So,
okay, to go back because we didn't get through just.
Okay, yeah.
So Miro, what happened when
Miro confront? Well, I'll read the report from. This is from Alvarez, since you wanted to get to the source code and make sure it was a reliable one. Alvarez added on Wrestling Observer Live. Apparently, there was also a near incident where CM Punk came through the curtain. Miro comes up and he's like, "What happened with Jack Perry?" And CM Punk is like, "Oh, so now you got a problem with me too?" So they get into an argument, and basically it's like, "You want to step outside?" I don't know what happened then, but I do know they didn't step outside, and Punk ended up back in the trainer's room. But apparently there was an issue with Miro and Punk, and that's why Miro's been all over Twitter the last couple of days.
Well, he's trending.
Well, he tweeted a picture today of like a taxi, a London taxi or something, the Punk, since apparently nobody showed up to pick up Punk at the airport to take him to the show, which was supposed to be the case. Yeah. So Miro was.
Let me ask you a question.
That's a great troll.
But all the talk about his power and stuff, Di, Punk's suspended again. He's off the pay-per-view this week
in Chicago.
Well, right? We had to do something, bro. I mean, come on.
Right.
This
guy's getting fights with everybody. It's like,
he's right.
Bro, let me tell you something. Joe, let me explain something. Okay.
And here's the bad part. Here's the only bad part. Because I've been in this position, for every time that he defended Punk, and people were like, "All right, dude, all right, but don't tell." Now everybody, I told you. He's probably heard that a million times. You better do something about this now.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, let me tell you, because when you work in a business, all right, there's human resources, there's codes of conduct, right? And when we're trained as security, all right, you're constantly like the whole tenet of security in the club is de-escalation. Try to talk your way out of physical confrontation. Just like, whatever you do, bro, Punk is very easily getting a lot of physical confrontations here. And this is not the first time, obviously. This is the second time. Bro, you're obviously not de-escalating the situation.
No,
you're
this
getting
is
in another physical confrontation. It's a third time?
Young Bucks,
right?
Perry, and now the confrontation with Miro.
Miro. Well, that wasn't physical. But yeah, you're right. He did. If it's true, he did say, "Hey, let's go outside." That's not de-escalation,
Right.
Can you think of anyone else who's been in that many backstage fights in a short period of time?
Not even, bro. I don't know if there's been that many backstage fights. Right? Period.
Like Nash went after Piper, and then 15 years later, he got into a fight with Samoa Joe, or 10 years.
Here's the only physical confrontations. The only physical confrontations that I've ever.
Because that locker room is hot. There's a lot of heat right now, bro.
Yeah. I was in the locker room for 7 years at WCW. Okay, my first day on the job, I got there 2 minutes after Paul Orndorff beat out of Vader. Okay, that was day one. Literally years later, okay, the Piper Nash thing happened. Okay, and then
which wasn't much of a fight.
Well, not much fight. Slap the guy where he can. But then Paige and Scott Steiner, which also I witnessed. Right. Okay. Right. Those are the only three physical confrontations I've ever seen. And, bro, we were on the road. We were in locker rooms for 200, 250 days a year. So that's like 1,500 days of locker room. Go ahead.
I did see your tag team partner hit that guy that they put in jail with
Harrison.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, because I was right there in Gorilla. Like, I was the next match, right?
Oh, really?
And and so.
How did that go down?
Remember that hard body Harrison?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he turned into a
right, and he's in jail now, right?
He sued WCW for racial discrimination, got paid, bought a big house with the money that he got paid for the racial discrimination lawsuit, and basically had a
right. Yeah. Bro, and they had ranks. They had ranks, and they had they had like this one lead girl
he was
that
a military guy. He was military. Yeah, right.
Was he? Was he?
I think so. Yeah.
He had a wild look. But anyway, so basically what had happened was, do you remember that thing that Hard Body Harrison had? I think he even brought it up into the ring with him, one of those flex things.
Like a flex bar thing. Palumbo used it later on, or somebody, yeah.
Right. You know what I'm talking about, Disco? You must have seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. So he had one of those. And I think he used it to pump himself up before he went into the ring, or I think he actually brought it into the ring, but, you know, that was like his little gimmick. So he put the thing on the table, and him, you know, there's music going on, so I didn't exactly hear what it was about, but they started to have words, and Alex picked up that flex thing, and he crossed the face and head with it, you know. But he had to go in there and break it up. I also remember the one, and I can't believe you didn't see this, but then again, you know, you can't be everywhere at the same time. I just happened to see this as it was happening when Ernest Miller smacked
Bagwell.
What's this guy's name? Bagwell.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think he was dating his ex-wife or girlfriend or something.
Now, I know this
Yeah.
kind of been a spinning all over conversation, but that made me. I got a mailbag question from myself because I read about this once. That Eric would try to. Well, okay, for example, like Sullivan and Benoit originally was an angle but they wanted to fool the boys too, right? And it just turned into something else. So what I read was when they had an angle between DDP and Bagwell, where Bagwell supposedly won at Kimberly, that they pretended to fight backstage, and you guys were kind of standing around going, they're throwing worked punches. Like, why are they trying to work us? Do you guys remember something like that?
I didn't see that.
But
Wait, what was this now?
So Bagwell and Page were in a feud on TV.
Oh no, no. I was not privy. I did not see that happen.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
They were acting like they were fighting for
each
real to
other.
fool the boys, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and
Right. Nobody was fooled.
Yeah.
But I never no, nobody was fooled because they were telling me about it happening, and like they were like.
No, and I remember one time
nobody bought the fight.
Yeah, they tried to cut promos on each other in a bar. They
Right?
try to fool the boys, and everybody's like, "Yeah, okay."
Kind of funny.
They're not, bro. You guys aren't that good at workers.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the mailbag because that was a pretty long conversation to start here. But just once again reiterate the poll results were 51% for Punk was a better UFC fighter, and 48% thought he was a better locker room leader in his career.
You know, I can probably talk that again if you guys want, because the Punk talks are good numbers. Or else I can just leave it in the intro. It's either way.
Might as well.